Welcome to central China's Wuhan, the provincial capital of Hubei province. This is our last stop of New China series of the Southwest group.
Yeah, been busy. We've seen a lot of China. We've seen the modernization. We've seen some poverty areas. We've seen everything in between. Now a city of 11 million, a wonderful skyline behind us.
One thing that you didn't see for sure is the sunshine.
Very true. What is that burning orange thing in the sky?
And that's something that the camera crew doesn't like.
Yeah, shadows.
Shadows, exposures, but at this time we would like to pay are grateful to our huge camera team as well as technician team, and they have been hard working in the past 12 days and they've been working so hard.
Yeah, exactly. If you think about what they did, 3 areas, the Northeast, the Southeast and the Southwest up into the central portion, 3 mobile studios driving on roads that were usually good, but a lot of times not. And they were able to pull it off time and time again.
And speaking for us, where are we now?
We are in Wuhan. We are standing on an exit ramp that leads to a ferry. And if you look behind us, you can see the wonderful Yangtze River. Never get tired of seeing this. A lot of history with this river. Yunfei, you can tell people about it, but a lot of people know it in the United States because this is where Chairman Mao routinely jumped in the river and actually swam across.
And according to report, we actually don't know how many times Chairman Mao ever did that. Sometimes, when it's in the record, we can read from the newspaper that Chairman Mao was actually swimming in the Yangtze River. Sometimes he just did it, and then we didn't know.
I got it. Okay. One quick shout out, then we'll get on with our interview.
Sure.
One of our wonderful producers, her grandfather, actually worked with Chairman Mao and jumped in this river and swam as well. So pretty cool story.
So we will probably try that today.
Let me know how it goes for you.
Stay tuned, and Sean Calebs will try that today. He will jump into the Yangtze River. Stay tuned.
With my jacket on.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Let me introduce our friend over here, Chen Zijian. She is a reporter of Wuhan TV English channel.
Yeah.
So local
knowledge.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about where we are at and what's the function of this place?
Yeah, this is the Zhonghua Wharf, and there is the Hanyang Wharf. This is a very important place of Wuhan because long time ago, it is a very important transportation spot in Wuhan because the Yangtze River is so wide, and here is the most wide place of the Yangtze River. So this is the wharf, and people join the cargoes and pull down the cargoes, and there's a busy transportation, busy business in Wuhan at that time.
Yeah, I think in Chongqing there was something like 4,500 bridges that spanned the region. There are clearly a lot here, but we see a lot of folks like this guy just taking their little motorbike on. Why is it still so popular for this mode of transportation?
Because here is the Hanyangmen, which is a very popular place in Wuhan. There you have Hubu Land, where a lot of street food there, and a lot of tourists come to Wuhan just for the Hubu Land food. And then you can cross the river. You can also see the Yangtze River. That is something that many tourists come to Wuhan just to see for the Yangtze River. And then go straight across the river, you will reach the riverbank of Hankou, where there's a pedestrian street there. So very popular place. So I think the place we choose to place the wharf is very important because it is the place that people travel there frequently, right?
Okay, and we have 15 minutes to kill before we actually hop onto that cruise and transport to the other side of the Yangtze River. So how do we kill this time? Let's talk to Northeast crew.
Let them handle it.
Jonathan and Chen is standing by in the Northeast.
We're excited to be here because this is our final day. This is day 12 of CGTN's massive, incredibly ambitious road trip across China. We are on the northeastern route. We have teams in 2 other parts of China traveling across the southwest and the southeast. And we are now in a very special location because this is the port of Dalian, which is a major port in China.
And it's the largest, to be honest, in the northeast China region.
One of the largest in the country, right?
Yeah, and one of the top 10 largest in the country. And I mean, this port was established over 100 years ago. And then back in 1920, in the 1970s, it became the first container port here in China.
So this is where like modern trade really began in China,
Yeah.
if you think about it. In the early 1970s, the first containers, these big things you see behind us on these big ships, those are shipping containers filled with all sorts of goods from around the world. In the 1970s, the first container ship, probably not too unlike this one here, rolled into the port of Dalian here in China, and that is where China's modern trade industry began. And of course, now we've seen it balloon into the world's second largest economy.
To that side a little bit, just because for the safety reason. We are in a port. I mean, they're unloading the containers from the ship at Maersk.
So this is very casual, by the way, guys. We're just going to walk around, show you what's happening here. This is a huge ship. It says it's from Hong Kong, but I'm not entirely sure where it's from. But they've been working all morning today unloading the ship, and it's quite a thing to watch because you see these big overhead cranes. They move actually really quickly, sliding back and forth across this rail, pulling up the containers. In fact, I think one's about to come off now. No, I'm pulling off something much larger. Containers, and then bringing them and dropping them down where they are eventually loaded onto trucks.
So I guess because we just came here today and we need to learn more about this port, right?
Yeah, let's
join in with our guest right here. And welcome Feng Kai, and he's a manager of the Port of Dalian's dispatching and logistics department. So welcome to our program, Mr. Feng. So let's talk about the history of this port first. So how long have you been with Dalian Port? 就是冯先生啊，就是您可能在我们大连港已经工作多少年了呢？
我是13年入的港，到现在6年的时间。
So Mr. Feng just said like he has been with Dalian Port for like 6 years.
6 years, okay.
Yes. So during the past 6 years, are there any changes that you've witnessed? 就是我们在您就是入职的6年间，就是您看到哪些变化吗？就是我们的大连港。Let's just walk and talk, right?
Great.
So we have a long way to end to reach the other
we're going
side.
all the way down.
We are. I mean,
Okay.
we're trying to if we have time. Yeah.
If we have time and if we have the energy.
冯经理啊，就讲到我们过去6年，你看到哪些变化吗？就我们港口。
就是我们的港口发展是越来越快的，然后就是整体的集装箱量也是一年再一年的增长。我们大连港整体的集装箱的吞吐量水平是一直保持在国内的第8位。
OK， 我先翻译一下。So and Mr. Feng just told me like each year the volume taken in by the Port of Dalian has been increasing, and now it's ranked number 8. Like nationwide here in China in terms of the containers volume.
Okay.
对。
然后靠泊大连港的船也是越来越大的。现在目前就是超2万屉的集装箱船舶在大连港已经实现了常态化的靠泊。
So actually, for a lot of ships now docking here at the port of Dalian are over 20 tons.
So, I mean, like, let's look at this big ship here, because frankly, this is something incredible to see, especially up close here on the water. Can you give us some perspective? Is this, in the scheme of things, is this a big ship for the port, or is this pretty average for the port?
就因为讲到我们这个船嘛，算是一个，已经算是我们这个是多少吨呢？是大的吗？算是大体积的吗？
这个算是我们比较大的一个，但还不是最大。它的船长是330米的，然后靠泊大连港最大的船是399米的集装箱船舶。
So it's on the larger side of the scale, but then it is not the largest, as Mr. Feng told me.
Yeah.
So this ship, the length is 330 meters, but the largest ship they've ever docked here, is almost 400 meters.
So this is not too terribly far behind. 330 meters. It's a monster.
It is.
I mean, because you also, people at home, I want you to be sure you can understand here. When you look at the deck of the ship, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if I'm counting correctly, 7 layers of containers stacked on top of each other. Those individual boxes, basically containers, are filled with goods. They bring them off the ship, unload them, load them back up as these goods travel all over the world. And of course, since China is really the world's factory, this is a big chunk of China's business is exporting products.
Absolutely. But I just want to know about the tonnage thing. So because we know how big the ship is, but you mentioned about like right now it's becoming a normal here in the port at the port of Dalian, like ships with like can load like over 20 tons often dock here. But what about this ship? What's the tonnage for this ship? 就是我们这个船的这个吃水量大概有，也是在20吨左右吗？这个
没有，它的那个载重吨大概在1万吨左右。
1万吨左右，但是我们说那个
10万吨，10万吨啊，对对。
So this ship can only take like about around 10 tons.
Okay.
So actually, but as we have mentioned, like, I mean, Mr. Feng just told me like for ships with like, over 20 tons of tonnage, it's becoming more like common here, here. So it means like they're taking in a lot of containers, they're taking in a lot of products from outside the country. Yeah.
I mean, as we talk about trade, of course, we've got to talk about the trade war, since, you know, China and the United States do so much trade together. I'm curious to know if he from his perspective, has seen any impact from, you know, what's happening with global trade.
就是因为讲到我们现在其实有中美贸易战的这样子嘛，大连港其实是一个非常重要的一个地理位置。就中美贸易战之后，我们有一些变化吗？
整体上就是中美贸易战对我们大连港集装箱量的整体影响是没有多少的，反而我们就是在整体我们拼市场，然后我们自己在开发货源的基础上，我们大连港的集装箱量反而是实现了同比的增长。
That's interesting. He just told me that. I mean, this port hasn't been, seeing impacts from the trade war that much, and in fact, they are seeing an increase of containers.
Really?
Yeah, really. That's interesting. But
why? Can you tell us why?
就是能跟我们讲讲为什么吗？这个就简单讲一讲，就是刚才讲了我们经济的调整这样子的。
对，
能举个例子吗？
因为我们怎么讲？我们主要的我们对外的一个航线开发上面，我们重点侧重在了对于东南亚航线。大家都知道，整体的一个中美贸易战可能对于东南亚的国家收益是最大的，但是我们正是借助这个机会开辟了一些东南亚的航线，然后整体的箱量实现了一个同比的增长。
Expanding their routes like different sea lengths, so they're now really entering the Southeast Asian market. Yeah, so they are kind of moving goods from not just focusing on the U.S. but then expanding to other.
Which is fascinating because that reflects the trend of what we're seeing in China as trade dips with the United States. China is saying basically it's a big world out there. We can do business with a lot of other countries, and Southeast Asia clearly a big focus for China. Fascinating. So I'm also curious to know from him. I mean, there are a lot of ports, as we mentioned, in China. Yeah. This is one of the largest in China. But what makes this port unique? What is this port known for?
就因为讲到其实我们大连港有哪些特点呢？就说因为我们有洋山港，我们有青岛港，但是我们大连港有哪些自身的特点？
首先我们大连港整体的那个地理位置是十分的优越。我们位于整个辽东半岛的最南端。路上是属于哈大高铁，哈大铁路沈大赫大高速的南端起点。海上距离国际主航道600海里，是我们中国东北地区距离世界最近的海上门户。
So actually, that's mouthful. But anyway, I'm going to try to translate. So first, we're talking about the location of this port.
Okay.
It sits at the southern tip of the Liaodong Peninsula. It's close to the sea routes, and it links with many like road transport, like railway links, and of course highways. So that gives it a lot of more strategic positioning.
Okay, so the position, obviously, strategically northeast China. And as we mentioned earlier, we're in the industrial heartland of China. I had to stop because, can we just take a moment to look at this? How cool this is? You see this truck just pulled up. They pulled off a container off this truck, and now they're about to drop another one down. And I just cannot get over how quickly it moves. I mean, they are bringing in a truck, quickly pull it off as if it's a kid lifting a toy, put it on the ship, and then bring it back in. This is all happening within seconds, and I want to make sure that we're getting an appreciation of that, because you see how quickly they just drop it down there. Like, it's really stunning to watch this in person up close. Pull up the truck, get it lined up, and then boom, put it down. It's quite an operation. The efficiency here is really amazing.
I want to ask Mr. Feng one more question about automation here.
All right.
Because a lot of ports here in China are now becoming automated. But what about here in the port of Dalian? 因为讲其实国内有很多的 已经变成那种无人港了嘛。
对。
那就是我们现在大连港的无人化是大概是个什么状态呢？
我们大连港就是我们是根据自己的发展需求，然后是属于自适应发展，就是无人化码头的那种。我们现在已经就是由原来的场地是船舶业务员加上一个场地业务员进行现场的一个手工作业，然后到现在经过我们自主开发的一套操作系统之后，然后减少了一个船边，还加上场地业务员的一个操作，相当于是我们由原来的一个船配一个船舶业务员，一个场地业务员，现在只配备了一个船舶的业务员，相当于人员减少了。
Okay, so basically they reduce the number of staff on board like by half, because for
The
all the
automation will cut the staff in half. Okay.
So look at that, because usually they need 2 people in charge to kind of coordinate, like one on the ship and one at the dock.
To lower the containers down.
Yeah.
It usually takes 2 people to coordinate that.
But now, because of the automation, they just need the people from the ship.
And that explains why, frankly, they're able to move so quickly on that.
Absolutely,
because, I mean, if it's all done by automation, it's pretty smart. And it's stunning how quickly this moves, how quickly they can unload these ships.
But I also want to know about the competition right now, because, you know, of course, like ports in Ningbo or in Shanghai, they're huge. So what's the competition like for?
Because I imagine competition here is pretty fierce. Because obviously, you know, global trade is an issue. There's a lot of ports in China and a lot of ports all over the world. So I imagine it is pretty fierce competition.
And we just got this question from our viewers, like ask about the automation thing. But I just asked. But I'm going to throw this to Mr. Feng again. Do you think one day the port of Dalian can achieve 100% automation? 就是我们以后会完全做到自动化吗？就是100%的自动化？
这个还是根据看我们港口的需求，然后包括我们对于未来的一个市场的开发程度。如果就是确实是未来的发展趋势是这样的，然后而且我们整体的我们大连港又有这个需求的话，那么我们一定会朝着一个就是无人化的这个码头去。
但这现在目前可能还没有一个具体的时间表。
对，但是我们现在具体还没有做一个就是整体的一个完整的规划，就是现在一切都是在酝酿过程中。
So they don't really have a timetable for a full automation happening here in Port of Dalian. They're going to change, like in accordance of what they need. For example, right now, I think he's comfortable with what they're doing, and if the trend is 100% fully automation in the future, they might move towards like things happening in Shanghai or in Qingdao, etc. Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, this is quite a sight. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. It's quite a sight to be here next to these huge ships, these huge containers, these huge cranes, watching one of the busiest ports in China operate. So let's send it to our team there in the southwest. Gao Yunfei and Sean Caleb, we're going to toss it over to you now.
And that was Jonathan and Xinchen from the northeast route. I can feel your excitement because I was once in a cargo vessel last year for 40 days, travel from China all the way to Hamburg, Germany, and along the Belt and Road, the belt. So it's great experience. All right, we're bringing live from for the New China series from Central China's Hubei province. I'm Zhao Yunfei, and this is
John Caleb's.
And we have our guest Chen Zijian. She is a reporter for Wuhan TV. So, we're about to board the ship.
We're about to board the ship, but you were explaining earlier, just when we were off camera a minute, a lot of people coming down these various ramps, both on motorbikes and a lot of pedestrians. But you said every day this isn't the kind of transportation many people use. Firstly, what's the attraction, and who are the people that use this?
Well, I think normal citizens use this ferry, of course, and also someone who do the business. They transport the cargoes from Wuchang side to the Hankou side, or from Hankou side to the Wuchang side, which I mentioned to you earlier that this is the to wharf is very important place of Wuhan.
Sure.
Yeah, and when I walk down to the wharf, I also can record a lot of my good memories of when I'm a little girl, because I live in Wuchang side and my cousin live in the Hankou side. Every weekend, the most exciting thing that I was looking forward to was to take the ferry and visit her to play together.
That's
And,
great.
Yeah.
So this is the Wuhan, this is the
Wuchang
Wuchang
side, yeah.
And the other side is the Hankou side.
Yes.
Wuchang, Hankou,
Yeah.
that's where Wuhan
Yeah.
comes from.
No, not only.
But also the third.
Yeah.
The third island.
In Chinese, we call Wuhan Sanzhen. So there are three towns
towns.
of Wuhan City: Wuchang, Hankou, and Hanyang. Yeah.
And it's inexpensive for people to take this mode of transportation. I mean, it's fun, actually, but it isn't really inexpensive. Why do you think that is?
You mean inexpensive? Because
Like
this is public transportation.
Yeah.
Public transportation is basically 1.5 RMB
Yes.
for each trip.
Yes.
That is like 20 cents, 20 cents US cents, right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know in 1980s and 1990s, the annual amount, the people who take the ferries to cross the river is 140 million per year. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
A lot of people will take the ferry for work, for travel, for leisure, of course. And but now, as the development of Wuhan, people can have a lot of ways.
So wharf, boat. So now I'm on.
Now you're on a boat.
Now I'm on the boat.
Congrats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. And explain this for us, if you would.
Yeah, this is a dock, and people wait here to get on board the ferry.
Wow, we can see so many people are waiting by, and most of them are motorcycles. What I just talked with Zijian, you as a local people haven't been here for a while, but
Yeah.
actually when you see this, there are still plenty of people over here, which recall your memory a lot.
Yes, right. And when I saw those people waiting here, it's exactly the same of the thing that
Since you were very young.
Yes.
So you're still young now.
Thank you.
Do you think we could ask a couple of people what they're like? Is this cargo, or are they just taking stuff over there?
Sure.
Yeah.
This one gentleman's got.
I'm just curious about your accent. Their accent. I'm a little worried about whether I can understand what they're talking
Can
about.
you ask this gentleman what is in his too? It looks like an ice.
你
打扰一下，您这装的是什么呀？您这里面装的是什么呀？
冻品，
什么？
冻品，
冻
冷冻食品，
冷冻 ，OK，frozen
Frozen.
food，这是食物吗？
牛肉，
是猪肉，就是要运到那边去给餐馆供餐
牛
馆。
肉，
牛肉，OK，frozen beef， providing for the restaurant, right?
我
Sorry，
听不懂。
就是你这冷冻牛肉是给餐馆送去的，对吗？
餐饮店，
餐饮店
啊
就是每天您都要这样子去送是吗？
对他们需要我们就送过去嘛。
那您是每天都要这个做轮渡吗？
基本天天做。
Okay, so he said that he take the ferry to move this frozen beef to a restaurant on the other side every day.
It's a good way commerce
你
is
为什么
done.
不会选择其他的那个方式？这个出行方式？
其他方式，电动车交通比较方便啊，又不会堵车什么的。
So the reason why he chose this kind of a transportation tool is simply because it's convenience,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't have to take you ride a bus. You don't have to take a cargo bus or something like that to kind of transport.
Just pull on
goods.
with your motorbike, sit there and work on your phone for a little bit, and suddenly you're there. It's pretty amazing. It's good. And so everything down here is usually motorized, and people and pedestrians are.
No. This is only the place we wait for get on the ferry. Yeah, the ferry will
gathering.
come. Yeah, the ferry is coming, and
The ferry is
the
coming.
door will open soon.
Well, this is going to be chaos, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we still have like roughly 2 minutes to board the ferry, as you can tell. And this is also, by the way, this is also a place that also have Wi-Fi available. Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah, Wi-Fi.
How strong the infrastructure it is.
This is going to be entertaining to watch this because people want to get the best place. You can see they're poised by those gates as soon as they open up.
And you can smell the
It's the diesel.
The diesel, yeah.
That's from the ship, I'm sure. It's it's cute. You see everything from little kids like you and your cousin.
Yes, maybe. Yeah, in the time of 1980s and 1990s, there are more population here. But now the amount of ferry takers are only dropped to about 10 million because we have too many other ways to cross the river.
Right.
Yeah, but most of the time, people just take it for transportation, easy transportation, and also for leisure and enjoyment. You can even take the night cruise to cross the river.
That's nice.
You will see a marvelous, magnificent night view. Really. You should take it.
So which we will be able to view the night scene tonight at our last show at 20:15 Beijing time, or that is 12:15 GMT. So stay tuned on
another
CGTN.
reason to give people a chance to look in and see what we're doing. This whole New China experience has just been amazing. Opening up, showing how important the events that led to where China is today, celebrating the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. And to me, it's just been fascinating to show the diversity of this country. Early on, our colleagues in the Northeast were wearing heavy winter coats, and we were down south sweating. And, it's just such a big nation.
Well, one big impression leave on me is that because people have so many alternative ways to go across the Yangtze River, there's subway underneath.
Yeah.
There's so many places. Look at that.
Yeah, even the sound is exactly the same as I'm a kid.
See how people flood into the ship?
Yes.
How amazing that is.
And then the motorbikes all rushing to get on.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So I was amazed by the fact that although people have so many alternative ways of passing to the Yangtze River, this is the way that they're still keeping, and they're still trying to make this available, and so that there are so many motorbikes or bicycles still able to cross the river in such a convenient way.
Yeah, because maybe if you just leave a bike off, it will take it off, take the ferry, right?
Right.
Yeah, and if you take the metro, it's not allowed for the mobile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we have already boarded the ship.
Yeah, normally the bikes are on the first floor, and the people will go upstairs.
Shall we stay at the first floor?
Sure.
Check out a little bit. Now they already board the ship, so as you can tell, people. Let's reverse to this side. So people are trying to.
Yeah, it's controlled
They
chaos.
basically
I mean,
gonna-
this happens every 15 minutes.
Yes, every 15 minutes it is going to happen. Yeah, every crew take 15 minutes, and usually people will wait here. Some people will park their cars or park their bicycles downwards, and they go upstairs for a little bit sightseeing.
Yeah.
Or just to relax. I mean, it's a very short little trip, but the weather today is absolutely perfect. I'd say it's got to be around 20 or so with a nice light breeze coming off the river, and also just the historical significance. These the people like you who were born and raised here. You're used to it, but to the outside world, for us to give folks a chance to see this, and then. That's another thing we're going to talk about.
The cargo ship, yes.
The commerce that is involved. I mean, just a ton of goods are moved up and down this river. It's such an important link throughout China, not just for transportation, but also water for the thirsty parts of the nation that take more. When you have a nation of 1.4 billion, you have to use it as efficiently as possible.
One observation that I have is that if you look at the passenger, the age of the passengers, most of them are old people. You don't see many young people over
Because
here.
it's working day today.
That's why. I thought it's because of the old-fashioned way of traveling. Okay, let's go upstairs.
Yeah. For me, I always choose the upstairs because I can have better view.
Sure. You can be out on the deck. This is very relaxing.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at that.
Well,
Shall we go outside directly?
Sure. Go to the
Okay.
deck.
Once again, we're bringing you live of the New China series. We're coming to you from 3 different sections all across China. And right here, we're bringing you live from central China's Hubei province in Wuhan. Beautiful scene over here.
And at this point, we are very much a captive audience because we can't get off this boat.
No.
At this point.
No, they can't escape from us.
You can't get away.
You see the cargo?
Yes.
So I think maybe it's something from the port because Wuhan is one of the most important port of the Yangtze River. And also we have the train connects Wuhan and Europe, and you can take the train directly from Wuhan even to Netherlands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to Düsseldorf and then to Netherlands. Yeah. Yeah, so many international food and products come all the way from Europe to Wuhan and then get on the ferry, on the boat to other ports along the Yangtze River.
If you listen to the horn, that's the signal that we are about to go. We're about to leave.
Yes, yes.
And it just kind of putters. It's a very, very pleasant, short, slow ride.
Yes, yes. A lot of people like you can see the kids, the elderly people here. I think most of them just take the ride to and fro to enjoying the scenery, and maybe you can educate people, the children.
The children are still quite interested.
Sure.
Look at the little kids over there.
Yeah.
Yunfei, maybe you can chat with her and see why she took her children on this boat today.
你好，打扰一下，方便跟我们聊两句吗？我们是央视的。今天是带孩子出来玩吗？
带孩子来看一下啊，来玩一下啊。
您是武汉本地人吗？
不是的。
不是的，是从哪儿来的？
也是，反正一直生活在这里，就带孩子来也是来看一下。
为什么选择这种出行方式呢？
今天天气好，然后就过来了。
天气好就过来了。Okay, so they're actually not from Wuhan, but they're a frequent traveler to Wuhan. So they think that this is a very interesting way that bring their children. It's very convenient. It's very financial.
Yeah.
Financially,
it's really like
makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good way of travel.
And these are two of the happiest people in Wuhan today. These little kids.
Yeah. And the world knows them now.
Yeah.
It's just a fun of transportation. Have you had the experience when you're young, you just hop onto a random bus and just let it go, and then you don't care about its destinations, and it's just
trains as well.
No, that's too dangerous. Don't do that.
Well,
you go to another city, end up with another city.
That one is the first Yangtze River bridge. All along in the Yangtze River, this is the first one. Yeah. You know,
that lattice work that characterizes, it looks like it's an upper and lower deck bridge.
So the double-decker bridge.
Yes.
So the upper one is
for
the buses, and the second line is
for train.
The train for the railway.
Before the construction of this bridge, there's ferries can take people from this side to that side, but the train in 1937 there appeared a train ferry, but it would took 2 hours to cross the river.
Wow.
Yeah. So in 1957, the first Yangtze River Bridge was completed. Everybody's so excited. It's a big thing for China and also for Wuhan, of course.
Right, sure.
So you know, the Wuhan people are so excited. So a lot of people named their children who was born in 1957 Daqiao, which means great bridge. So you can see Zhang Daqiao, Li Daqiao, Wang Daqiao. Yeah.
Oh, the name of the people is called bridge. That's very interesting.
And then you have the TV tower in the distance, one of the iconic sites here.
Yes.
It's a skyline that's really moving. A lot of cranes are in the air, which is a good sign for economic development.
Yes. Another thing that fascinates me is the skyscrapers, because like the Holiday Inn there, it used to be one of the top building along the riverside.
Right,
and now it is not the tallest one. You can see a lot of skyscrapers along the riverside.
It's a good indication of where China is going and where it has been. It is a nation that is opening up, a middle class now that borders on 600 to 800 million people, a lot of buying power. Everybody wants to get in here and do business. And when you see something like this, Yunfei, you come here a decent amount because you're our correspondent here in this region. But for me, this is like being a wide-eyed kid that can sit back and take it all in.
Yeah. Actually, I think I'm toward to that direction. Maybe you go that side, you will see another bridge, which is the second Yangtze River Bridge. It was constructed in 1990 around. But after 1990 of the second river bridge, there are a lot of bridges coming out. Now, by end of this year, there will be 11 bridges on the Yangtze River in Wuhan.
So people will be worried, well, this kind of transportation, they're still keeping that, otherwise...
Yeah, so the ferries now are fewer ferries and fewer wharfs also. So because we have too many other ways to cross the river. Yeah, and even we have the tunnels to drive across the river, to drive under the river.
Wow.
Also the metro as well.
Yeah, 4 metro lines under the river.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and if you are interested, just now you mentioned that you want to swim across the river, right? You can come here.
Speaking of swimming across the river, I mean the person who
loosen up first
for navigating the ship have to pay attention to the swimmers as well.
Yeah. Most people will not swim across the river without a protection.
Okay.
Yeah, and during the time that we have the annual Yangtze River Crossing Festival, everything is organized. The train, the ferry is blocked, and the route is left out just for the swimmers.
And to give people an idea what that is, it's to recognize when Mao Zedong would swim across this river, and now it's become kind of a tourist, kind of an iconic event here in the city. And you told me, about 10 years ago, 4,500 people did this?
The year before last, 4,700 people swim across the river all together. And you know, there are two kinds of activity you can choose. One is in group, and another one is as individuals. The individual competition is just 1,800 meters. The champion of the male individual can complete the whole distance in about 12 minutes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, and I did a report of the Yangtze River Crossing Festival for several times, and I was so excited to see that you can find people as old as 70 or 60 years old, and you can see people as young as 14 years old.
Wow.
All of them are so excited for the swimming games, and you can see the people from all around the world too. Many of them have attended festival for more than once, so they really like it.
Yeah. And what's amazing to me is it's not just transportation.
Yeah.
It's enjoyment. It's a getaway, a mental getaway. You just sit here and look at this river. People of all ages have kind of ringed the edge of the ship.
That's so interesting, being able to see people from all walks of life sharing this wonderful 15 minutes of short ride. So now let's check out how Lindy and Shanxi is doing in the southeast.
Yeah.
Hi, Sean and Yunfei. We are now on a bus heading to the estuary of the Yangtze River. Isn't that amazing? The Yangtze River is so long, China is so big, yet we're connected somehow,
This is
right?
the one way that the teams actually somehow connect. I always thought that our last day would bring us together to like one location for a finale, but I suppose working on other ends of the Yangtze River is the closest we'll get to that.
Right. Now we are heading to Shanghai. It's exciting, at least for me especially so, because I've been stationed in Shanghai for the past 2 years.
That is exciting. You know, I've never been to Shanghai myself, and it's one of the places I've always wanted to visit in China. I must say, like the first time I came to China to do an assignment for CGTN, I was just kind of exploring around in Beijing, and I landed up at a space where there were lots of tourists, and I found that people would like sneakily try and take photos of me, you know? They'd have their little phones and secretly, and I realized that I obviously stuck out a lot. Even in Beijing, I just wasn't someone that really fitted into what people expect to see. So I've always wanted to go to Shanghai for the fact that it's very multicultural, very diverse, very cosmopolitan. And yeah, it sounds like an amazing city to visit.
Yeah, I think cosmopolitan is probably the right word to describe the city, because this city has been having westernized influence for many, many years. It was formerly a French concession, and with a lot of foreign buildings, with a lot of foreigner population in the city. and I think it's really a good place for foreigners to navigate because, well, as I heard, a lot of foreigners say they only need English to navigate the city, but that couldn't be done in many other cities.
Yeah, that's true.
In China.
Yeah.
And here I'll share with you some of the background of what the city is like. It is one of the 5 treaty ports forced open to foreign trade, followed the British victory over China in the First Opium War. Now then the subsequent 1842 Treaty of Nanking allowed the establishment of the Shanghai International Settlement and the French concession. But then the city then flourished as a center of commerce and then finance between China and other parts of the world. There's a very strong financial industry. It was actually called the Wall Street of the Orient. It still has a very strong financial industry now. I think only second to Hong Kong in China, and became now the primary financial hub in the Asia Pacific region since the 1930s. And now let's go to 3 little stories that shows you a little bit more of what Shanghai is like.
The Huangpu River, the last significant tributary of the Yangtze River before it flows into the East China Sea. The people of Shanghai have a special place in their hearts for this body of water.
The Huangpu River is the mother river. We grew up drinking its water.
Historically, Shanghai thrived around the Huangpu as a commercial city. Until the 19th century, the river had accommodated mostly small sailboats. But when several world superpowers forced open China stores in 1901, one of their demands was to deepen the Huangpu so their big boats could better ship goods into the country. They needed to form a company to do the dredging.
This is a replica of the decree signed by Guangxu, the then emperor of China. The measure approving establishment of the company simply read, "Noted."
This exhibition room that shows part of that history is owned by this century-old corporation. Today, it is called the Shanghai Dredging Company.
My grandpa was first-generation Navy of the People's Republic of China. Later, he came to work for the Shanghai Dredging Company. My dad was a ship captain, and now I'm with the company too.
For decades, their workers have excavated waterbed soil and made land. The ships and technologies they used have changed dramatically over the past century.
I worked on a ship for 22 years. In the past, we didn't have these high-end ships, so sea life was tough. During my wife's pregnancy, I was mostly out at sea. I still regret it.
My dad would spend 9 months every year out there. Whenever he would come back, he always spent a lot of money buying me and my mom good food.
Generations of hard work have transformed these waterways.
The company has deployed more than 10 of these massive dredging ships along the Yangtze River estuary. These high-end dredgers are now working full swing on projects of much bigger objective and scale.
The Yangtze River Estuary Dredging Project was the company's biggest undertaking in the last 20 years. Their goal was to make the estuary deep enough for ships up to 150,000 tons to pass through.
In that year, the depth is only less than 7.5 meter. The depth is very important. As the depth from 7.5 to 12.5, more and more bigger and bigger ship one should get in the port.
Shanghai hopes to become even more of a top global shipping center. The company's president said, having a deep shipping route is a prerequisite for the city's next big step towards that ambition, the Yangshan Deepwater Port.
Two are very important. One is the depth of the waterway, and the second, of course, some land for the port. We take more than 100 million cubic meter the sand, make the land, and the second, we dredging, we make the waterway deeper.
From the Huangpu to the Yangtze River, these waterways have shaped Shanghai's history, people's lifestyles, and its future. These buildings are the pride of Shanghai. The city is well known for its historical architecture. People come from all over China and beyond to see them, walk among them, and take pictures in front of them.
Many of the historical Western style buildings in Shanghai originated during the city's concession period in the early 20th century. These mansions are now popular tourist attractions, and some feature QR codes that visitors can scan to learn all about the architecture and their past owners.
This building was obviously built in 1934.
Archie Hamilton came to Shanghai in 2005 from his native Scotland. Instead of living in new, modern apartments, he and his family chose to rent here, on the top floor of an old building in the former French concession. They have renovated the place over the years.
We wanted to live in these beautiful lanes, and we really loved this place, like deeply loved the high ceilings and the view over the park. My son's lived here his whole life in this house. My daughter's lived here for all of her waking memory, right? This is home.
These mansions are not the only buildings from the early 20th century. Scattered across Shanghai are residential clusters like this called longtangs. Deep in the old alleyways are stories, events, and historical figures that shaped contemporary Chinese history. This longtang, called Hengdeli, was home to Nie, composer of the Chinese national anthem.
So this is where Nie lived. The back door hasn't changed a bit.
79-year-old Zhang Zhiyao is the oldest resident here. This three-story house used to be filled with people. Now he lives alone.
My son didn't want to stay, so he moved out. People say I should too, because it's not convenient living here. But I'm too attached to this house to move. Every day I manage my garden, feed my fish, and say hello to my neighbors.
But for some, life in other longtangs is much different. Housing conditions vary, and some families don't even have their own toilet. The city subsidizes affordable toilets and has been gentrifying public alleyways in recent years.
Now, when I walk around, I see a lot of changes compared to decades ago, which is quite pleasing.
From French mansions to longtangs, these historical buildings have become part of the city's identity, a sight to behold for tourists and a place locals call home. Yangtze CGTN, Shanghai. Meet the world's oldest jazz band. Literally. These musicians playing at Shanghai's Peace Hotel are on average over 80 years old.
We can play world classics, old Chinese songs, pop melodies, whatever our audiences want.
For nearly 40 years, they have ensnared listeners' hearts by playing nostalgic tunes of the early 20th century. These jazz notes are time capsules of the days when Chinese people started to embrace musical styles from the West.
To many, that was an iconic era. The city saw the first generation of Chinese people who sported the bold look of suit and tie, mechanical watches, and hair gel.
And that became the quintessential image of what's known as the Shanghai style, romanticized in TV shows and movies. People have a name for them, 老克勒 or old Kele.
So what does Kele really mean? Well, two of the most popular explanations are white collar and clerks. Both concepts were new and fashionable to the majority of Chinese people back at the beginning of the 20th century.
These majestic historical bank buildings along the Bund are among where the old clerks originally worked. And across the Huangpu River lays the heart of China's modern financial industry. Within these high-rise buildings is a new breed of Shanghai elites. Patrick Liu is the China CEO of a US finance firm.
I was born and bred in Shanghai, and very proudly so. Shanghai, as far as like 1930s, even 20s, has already become the financial center, at least for the region.
He heads a wholly foreign-owned asset management company, which wasn't possible until 2 years ago, when Shanghai started to open the industry to global players.
I think the city is very, it's almost in its DNA, very receptive to new ideas. And when you map these qualities to the modern world, these are the things that make the city very unique and very well positioned, especially for global industry.
We went to see the Peace Hotel Jazz Band. It was an occasion to dress up for. The Shanghai style has been an organic mixture of old and new, east and west. This value of openness and modernism is shared across time. Yang Chengxi, CGTN, Shanghai.
We're still on the bus, still making our way into Shanghai, and as you can see, we're driving on a bridge that is crossing the aesthetics of Shanghai, a city that has a lot of appeal to both locals and foreigners. Well, thank you so much, Shang-Chi, for those stories. You know, one of my favorites is about the jazz band at the hotel.
You like it?
I really did enjoy that, and it really just shows a kind of the way in which Shanghai has opened itself up to Western influences, and of course, you know, consequently having a large appeal to foreigners. Let's bring in our guests now. We are with Andy Mock and Tim Clancy. Tim, I want to ask you a little bit about that then. You know, to what or how is it that Shanghai, of all the cities in China, has this appeal to foreigners, but especially seems quite eager in itself to embrace influences from around the world?
Correct, Lindy. I think that Shanghai, due to its historical reasons of being the French settled there, the British were there, it was a trading hub, it was a financial center in the 30s before then. I think it just lends itself, the atmosphere, to being open and conducive to new things from around the world, and they all culminate there, and the people there are all very accepting. And also Shanghai, blankets. In Russia, visa-less, and trying to get deals to sell things from their factory in China. Very interesting. So, and we see these days many foreigners do come to Shanghai because the policies are very conducive and the atmosphere is very good. Some people even say that they don't even need to learn Chinese that well to get by and get everything done, as opposed to somewhere like Beijing, where I've noted that foreigners in Beijing, the city turns them into a Beijinger. But in Shanghai, the foreigners continue they become even more foreign, even more sophisticated, even more cosmopolitan. So it's a very stark contrast.
So, I mean, just on that note then, so is Shanghai a barometer or not then of what is possible in China in terms of opening up, in terms of engaging with foreigners, or is what happens there very unique and specific to this city?
No, I think that it is a region of experimentation, as in October the 5G will roll out through Shanghai, and I think we will see some wonderful, fantastic effects. And what what will be happening in Shanghai, definitely for the benefits that 5G will bring, and to smarter, cleaner, better city living. Those sort of things models and archetypes can be reproduced and rolled out across China, I think.
And I think you're right. Shanghai has been the testing ground of a lot of policy innovation.
The free trade?
Yeah, the free trade zone. We've had the free trade zone since 2013, and it's now being upgraded to a free trade port. And the FTZ mechanism has been replicated in many cities in China, right? Andy, I want to bring you in on this. What do you think the FTZ in Shanghai is doing right here? How do you envision it to be in the future?
Well, before I address that, I've got a little bit of a different take than Tim about Shanghai, in that I think it is distinct and different from the rest of China. And, we can contrast Beijing and Shanghai. So you mentioned that in Beijing, foreigners really need to learn at least some Chinese. And I think that Shanghai is unique because of its contemporary history. So from the 20s on, it was known, so we were in Suzhou, which is called the Venice of China. Well, Shanghai was known as the Paris of the East for its cosmopolitanism, the melting pot of people from all around the world. And I think that really did shape the ethos and the worldview of many Shanghainese. And I would include as Shanghainese the people in the surrounding region. And we're looking now today at more than about 21 million people. That they really are very outward facing and kind of define themselves that way. Whereas we look at in Beijing as maybe the flip side of the coin, very strongly identify themselves as very, very Chinese. So, and I think both are important and both play a role in China's economic miracle. But then to answer your question about the free trade zones, I think that, of course, tariffs are not only a tax, but also friction, as are different kinds of customs procedures. So the more they can be eliminated, the more friction is eliminated, the more quickly commerce can happen, the more new products can be tested, new markets can be discovered. So I think it's very important that these new experimental areas, these free trade zones, are being implemented. And of course, I think China has demonstrated that its model of piloting things, and China's such a big, diverse country, but piloting things, whether it's in Shenzhen, in Shanghai, in other parts of the country first, and then discovering what works, what doesn't, before rolling it out nationwide is a strategy that's proven remarkably successful.
And I also want to talk about the future of the city, though, because Shanghai is, a lot of people compare Shanghai to, for example, Shenzhen as a quickly rising city of high tech, of new money, and a lot of people see Shanghai as like the example of old money. But as you said, Shanghai is also rolling out this 5G network, is also aiming to be a high tech city. So where do you think the city is going in the future? Andy, you want to go?
I mean, I see, obviously Shenzhen is a much younger city, and Shanghai has more roots, and especially we see the view, there are people that clearly, very strongly identify themselves as Shanghainese, whereas Shenzhen, most people are from somewhere else. And of course, there are some people that would call Shenzhen home, but they pretty much come from somewhere else. And I think that's a cultural difference. But from a tech perspective, I think the vibrancy of the Shenzhen tech scene really is without parallel, not just in China, but anywhere around the world, because of the ecosystem of hardware, component suppliers, maker spaces, entrepreneurs, finance, etc. Whereas Shanghai has been more traditionally a financial center, a hub for multinational corporations and SOEs. So I think while they're playing in the same space, there are some differences.
Yeah. And also it is under the direct administration of the central government, right? So it's a municipality as opposed to the provinces that we've traveled to. And I imagine that gives it some kind of different, I suppose to some extent it makes it slightly more important than other regions?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. That's a great point, Lindy. Okay. So it reports directly to the central government, so it has the status of a province.
That's right. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Well, we've got so much more we wanted to cover, but we have so little time.
Unfortunately.
Later today, we'll be visiting some of the ports in China and also be in one of the tallest building, actually the tallest building in China.
All right,
and the second tallest in the world, the Shanghai Tower. We're very much looking forward to that. But now, let's hand it back over to Yunfei and Sean.
The Wuhan Yangtze River Bridge was the first bridge over the Yangtze River. It was opened on October 15, 1957. It's a double-deck road and rail bridge. Every day, nearly 80,000 vehicular trips and more than 300 trains pass along it. 6 decades later, 13 bridges have been built or under construction over the Wuhan section of the Yangtze River. Completed in 2014, the Yingwuzhou Yangtze River Bridge is admired for its beautiful red color. And in October, Wuhan will have a new bridge over the Yangtze River, the Yangtze Bridge. When it opens, it will be the world's longest double-deck suspension bridge. 70 years ago, the only way people in Wuhan could cross a river was by taking a ferry. Now they can make the journey by taking the metro or driving through the tunnel or crossing 11 bridges.
And hopefully you just learned something about the bridges of the Wuhan, as well as the bridges on the Yangtze River from the clip we just presented. And it looks like we have changed a more friendly environment.
Yeah, I mean, look, the other boat was phenomenal. It was a great ferry, but this one's built for luxury. This is a cruise.
Yes, rather than a ferry. Oh, more expensive.
Wow. 50 yuan, not too expensive.
We spent a lot of money today.
It's the last day.
Yes.
It's the 12th day of our adventure. Perhaps you can introduce our guest once more?
Of course. Chen Zijian, a reporter of Wuhan TV English channel. So, I'm just curious about, among all the stories you covered about Yangtze River, which one has impressed you? Which one gave you most impression?
I think the Yangtze River Crossing Festival impressed me most, because I did the interview with the report of the Crossing Festival for several years, and I was touched by the environment because people are so exciting. It's just like a holiday. And one year I met someone from Taiwan, a young man. He told me that he had been here before, and after the year he swam across the river. He decided to bring his son and daughter to Wuhan to attend festival that year that I did the report. And when I saw his son and his daughter, I felt that they really love it, because his father told him that the Yangtze River is the longest river of whole China. You, as a Chinese children, you should come here and see it, even swim across it.
It carves its way through 9 provinces and 2 municipalities. It is incredibly long. What ends up at Shanghai?
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that's just amazing.
Yeah. In the report that I did, in the report that I say, the river can connect all the people around the world. Even you, Sean, can swim across the Yangtze River, across the ocean.
There's so many invitations about swimming across the river. Yeah. I was a little distracted by the light of the disco light of this floor. This is really a party ship. Basically, you can maybe have a party dinner over the river.
Yes, you can hold a banquet or parties, and even did a report on someone from Zambia.
Yeah.
She pursued her study here in Wuhan, and she designed her own clothes, and she had his fashion show on the boat along the Yangtze River.
Well, people from Wuhan embrace the Yangtze River. I mean, it's part of their lives, it's part of the culture, it's part of the heritage. So the special relationship, as an outsider coming in, it's wonderful to talk to the people and really get a feel for how this historic river not only carves its way through China, but also carves its way into people's lives and into their history and their family history.
Certainly. Okay, shall we move upstairs?
Sure.
Yeah,
Let's move our party. All right. Look at that. Look at the infrastructure over here. So how
this one's going quite a bit faster.
Get up over that, right? That side.
That way?
Ooh.
can see more bridges here. Like that one is the one in the on the Han River, which is the branch river of Changjiang Yangtze River, and that one is the second river bridge. Yes. And go there are more bridges. In approximately 2 years, you will have 2 more bridges.
Yeah, way in the distance down there.
Many of them even have the advanced technology of the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. A little backlit because it's a little cloudy today, but that bridge with its white span, there are 3 spires down there, in the bridge, and what a great place to sit back and just enjoy
and that one,
things.
the red one, is also another bridge. It named Yingwuzhou.
Yingwuzhou Bridge, yes.
Yingzhou Bridge.
So many different bridges over here. I also noticed that this is a place, this is the Yangtze River, bench of Yangtze River with multiple functions. You see cargo vessels, you see ferry, you see cruise, you see smaller boats, you see people even swimming.
And fishing on the bank.
And fishing as well. So like there's just so diversified of a vibe. And this is also a place that many people do business. Look at those cargo ship over there.
Yeah. We were talking about the cargo ships earlier that went out in Chongqing area, and there's something like 300 cargo ships a year go just to Europe in that area. And if you notice, the cargo ships, as they go down, traffic has to be controlled very closely on this river. It's as big as can be, but there is so much commerce going up and down. Looks like coal may be on that barge over there, and you can see the ones going upstream, the ones going downstream, they each have their own lane that they stay in.
Yeah.
And so it makes for...
Every time I cross the river, I saw some red boat, the small boat with the white triangle there. Did you see that?
Yes.
I'm thinking whether that one is the signal to divide the 2 lands of the river.
Well, they're in constant communication, those the boat pilots with the various people up and down the river to make sure they're where they are supposed to be. That way you avoid an accident, a collision that could not only lead to environmental damage but loss of life and so many other things. But here, you see it's just so controlled, and it's so big. This river's gigantic.
It's very. It is the longest river in China.
As well as the 3rd longest in the world.
And here we are coming up on this. This is the oldest bridge?
Yes.
The Wuhan Yangtze River Bridge again, where Angela Merkel just visited this place basically last week.
So this bridge is not only anchored in China, but it's also anchored in history because of the other nations that worked with China to build this.
Exactly. So later on in the 4GMT show, our live mobile studio will drive on that bridge. Hopefully we can bring you live from that area. And also I see that the local government is launching a campaign of environmental protection. So a lot of environmental protection work is done along the Yangtze River. A lot of the factories are closed, and much of the measures were taken. Have you done any stories on that, and what's your take overall on the development, on the green development?
Yeah, I think the environment is really changed a lot, like especially the riverbank I have mentioned. When I'm a child, I can only just sit there and watch the view. But now you can see flowers along the riverside, and you can see the greenway, and you can see a lot of trees there. And that becomes the park, the public park, and you can have the avenue for soccer, for basketball, and you can. There are only open. There is also open swimming pool there. So I think it's something that benefits the whole citizens.
Okay, now we finally caught a train over here passing through
the lower deck.
The lower deck of the Wuhan Yangtze River Bridge. Look at that. Before the bridge was built, even the train has to take the ferry to cross the river.
2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours. Amazing.
I can't even imagine how that happened. I mean, I can't play that in my head. Each car had to go over one by one by one?
Yeah, maybe something like the dams, right? Yeah.
That's in the era when we were so young. we were even didn't born. So and I have no knowledge about that, Sean.
And we talked yesterday about the Three Gorges Dam where we were, and everybody. Not everybody, but a lot of people think that that's solely for energy, but it's for flood control. And if you see up here, this is a flood wall. I grew up on the Ohio River one of the largest, most important rivers in the United States, and also worked in a town that had the Mississippi River. And I've seen all these banks and flood walls. They're so important. Before those were built, obviously municipalities, cities could do very little to stop these rivers from jumping their banks and going in swamping conditions. And years and years past, it created a nice floodplain with rich soil, but as people came in, a city of 11 million here, it would just be devastating.
Yeah, Wuhan also is building the city as a sponge city. We have a lot of technical facilities and skills to make the city as a sponge city.
As you can tell, we have reached to the place where we just get started. So we started from the Wuhan Guan dock, we went to the Zhonghualu dock, and then we traveled all the way back. It's a wonderful 30-minute trip, and then we have to end our discussion over here, although we have a lot to offer, because we have to get ready for the 12 o'clock show on TV. So thank you, Zijian, so much for joining us today. It's great to have you.
I'm also honored to introduce my city to you, to all the audience.
And Zijian will be back at 14 o'clock to show us more about the Optics Valley products by then.
Thank you again.
Thank you too.
All right, back to you guys. Oh no, not back to you. We're the one who's doing most of the work. Not back
it's
to you.
been good. You did a great job setting all this up. It's wonderful to see this and bring it to our viewers, both on every kind of platform that CGTN has to offer.
Oh, stay tuned. Bye bye.
In 70 years, China has undergone unprecedented transformation. From its old industrial base in the northeast to its new manufacturing powerhouse in the southeast and to its emerging southwest, CGTN offers you a panoramic view of contemporary China. Our crews will travel along 3 different routes and come to you live from dozens of locations and free mobile studios. Join us for an all-inclusive look at China on our TV channel and digital platforms, September the 9th to the 20th. It is New China, then and now, in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, only on CGTN.